There's two characters from RVB with very limited screen time. I think it's a shame that these two characters appeared sporadically throughout the series, and after thinking about it for a while, I thought I would make a video dedicated to these two characters, talking about them and talking about the what if scenario of them being inserted into other seasons from RVB. Kaikana Griff, also known as Sister or Kai, and Bloggity Blog Tucker, also known as Junior. These two characters made their first appearance in Season 5 of Red vs. Blue. However, after Season 5, their appearances would be very rare and kind of random at times throughout the rest of the show. It wasn't until Season 16 where Sister became a regular character again. One of the few things that made me happy when watching Season 16 was seeing Sister back with the main roster. Junior wasn't so lucky. Season 5 was really all he had as a regular season appearance. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that these two characters only appear in very few seasons of RVB. But what if they did appear in other seasons? I'm not saying they have to be in every season of RVB, but with that said, how different would the story be if Junior was in Season 7 and Season 8? What if Sister was in the Chorus Trilogy? Well, that's what I'm here to talk about. Hello, my name is Ben, and I'm going to be looking at every season of Red vs. Blue, after Season 5 of course, and talk about the what if factor. We're going to go over every season and talk about how I would have implemented either Sister or Junior into other stories and seasons of Red vs. Blue. Before we actually start, let's talk about some reasons why these characters didn't appear in most seasons of the show. This is entirely speculation on my end. This is not the concrete reason to why these two characters weren't in other seasons of RVB. For Sister, an answer could be simply to do with her voice actress, Rebecca Fraser. I hope I'm saying that right. Even though she worked at Rooster Teeth, maybe her work schedule, focusing on other projects and being part of other teams at the company, outside of also whatever else she was doing besides Rooster Teeth, just meant that she wasn't available. As for Junior, well, I think we do have an easy explanation for him. He's an elite. That alone makes his appearances in RVB heavily limited, especially when we get to the 343 era of Halo games, and 343 clearly not being a fan of fun, didn't make elites playable in Halo 4, 5 or Infinite. Pretty much became impossible for Junior to make appearances outside of the already random appearances that he does make in the show. Another simple explanation for these two characters not appearing in that many seasons, well, they were never intended to be series regulars from the beginning. Okay, so like I said before, I'm not saying they have to be in every season of RVB. I'm still going to use the basic structure of every season's plot, as well as what Halo gamers used to film said plot, and take those two into account. With that in mind, I'm just going to say this right now, Sister wouldn't have much, if any, of a difference in Season 6, 7 and 8. Her role would be the exact same in the Recollection Trilogy. We would see her in Season 6, Episode 2, she would get mentioned in Relocated, apparently being killed by Lopez, but just focusing on the Recollection Trilogy for now, Sister's role would stay the same. With that said, we're going to direct our focus on Junior for the Recollection Trilogy and talk about how I think we could have had him be implemented into the story. Okay, so Season 6. He wouldn't actually make an appearance. However, I'm sure you can already see where I'm going with this. He would be heard in the background during Tucker's call to command, which ends up being a conversation with the Reds instead. During that brief message that Tucker's sending to the command, we just hear a couple recognisable blogs and honks in the background. Or maybe Junior gets involved with a certain running gag with Tucker.
Understand. Okay, I got it. As soon as they get back, I'll be sure to grab them and slip it to them.
Yeah, slip it to him. Bow chicka bow wow.
What'd you say?
Oh shit, gotta go.
Was that who I think it was?
Did somebody here just say something?
Season 7 will be the first time we actually see Junior in person. Alongside Tucker, he will appear when Tucker is attacking CT and his men in the desert and saving Griff, Caboose and Sarge. They would have a brief reunion, and then the 5 of them would retreat back into the temple. The only awkward situation of Junior being here is when we last saw him was in the Pelican jumping ship before it crashed into Valhalla. They don't really explain what happened to Junior or the other alien for that matter. However, thanks to a line of dialogue from Tucker in season 7, we seem to get the confirmation that Tucker was able to reunite with Junior, and the two of them have been working together this whole time. So overall, I think it works and makes sense with the established storyline.
So me and Junior have to go around sometimes and help negotiate stuff. You know, smooth talk.
Why you?
We're like ambassadors here or something. Humans and aliens seem more comfortable with us since we're kind of, you know, in between.
With Junior being an elite, I guess one question we would have is, would Junior be worshipping Epsilon like the other elites? Well, I think to an extent he would, just for the comedic factor. Tucker would be very annoyed if he saw his son worshipping Epsilon over his own father. In this version of the story, when the other elites and CT's men go on the attack, instead of it being just Joannis emping Epsilon that makes the elites angry, I'm going to say that Junior also has a hand in convincing the elites to turn against CT, just to give him a bit more of a role. Junior could basically be the one taking charge and leading the elites against CT and the other human characters. During the chase scene in season 7, like Tucker, Junior would also be rocking out with a chopper, and another comedic bit I thought of was Junior being a lot better than Tucker with driving the vehicle. Just a little moment where we see Junior is actually really good driving around in the chopper while Tucker's struggling to even get the thing started. Oh yeah, and I guess before I move on, I should probably mention, for convenient purposes, Junior would be a regular size elite at this point. I don't think we would need to focus too much on this. Even though we're in the Recollection Trilogy, this is still early RVB, where logic doesn't really matter. So we could just say because he's an elite, he grows up faster than an average human. We could say that Junior maybe is in his teen years at this point. Anyway, that's pretty much it for season 7. Junior would witness Epsilon protecting Tucker and killing CT. Maybe here we could have another comedic scene of him worshipping church with the other elites, once again annoying Tucker. So, on to season 8, Revelation. I've mentioned this in a previous video that this is my favourite season of RVB, and considering what's in this season, we're going to have some fun with this one. Admittedly, Junior wouldn't add much to the beginning of the season. He would be in the desert with the other elites, and he would even chase Tucker around with the other elites when Epsilon disappears. However, from Junior's perspective, he would just see it as a fun game. He would just be seeing it as a funny way to piss off his dad as just a joke. He's not taking it seriously. When the Reds and Blues leave the desert for good, Junior would help Tucker escape, maybe convincing the other elites that he is going to go off and collect Epsilon for him. Now, I'm going to be a bit of a cuck here. We saw in season 5 that Tucker is actually pretty protective over his son. So I'm going to say that Junior would not join in the fight against Tex. I think this one goes to 11, shouldn't be changed at all. It's just too perfect. I think instead Tucker would instruct Junior to go and join Caboose and just stay away. That might suck to some of you, but don't worry, we're going to make up for this. Fast forward in the story a little bit, Junior would obviously be with the Reds and Blues when Sarge is giving one of his best speeches in the series, convincing the others to go and save Tex and Epsilon. We would see Junior in the Pelican, it would crash, Junior and all the other characters would reunite, the meta attacks, Tucker instructs Junior to stay back just like he did with the fight prior with Tex. However, this time, Junior can't just stand by. He can't just sit on the sidelines and watch his father and his friends get attacked by the Meta, which is essentially a monster at this point. At least from Junior's perspective he would be. So this time, Junior joins the fight. That's right, we're going to get an elite fighting the Meta. An animated Junior fighting the Meta alongside his dad and his friends. That would have gone hard. That would have made an already 10 out of 10 fight freaking 11 out of 10. You know what I mean? A fight that's already great would be even greater. I'm not saying we would have Junior solo in the meta. Just a brief sequence with Junior throwing hands at the meta. The fight would still end the same way. I don't think we would need to change anything about its conclusion. We would just have Junior join the fight, have a brief one-on-one with Meta, fight alongside the Reds and Blues, and Junior would be knocked down alongside Tucker just before Sarge goes in to finish the fight. I can only imagine how great that would have been to see an animated elite by Monty. We've had animated elites in RVB, sure, but never in a fight. Red vs. Blue has never had elites in a fight scene. And I think that's a damn shame, because especially with it being Monty, that would have been, again, just making an already great scene even greater. With the male defeated, Junior would be with the Reds and Blues at the end, and during the epilogue, Junior would leave with Tucker, Caboose and Washington. Moving on, we have the Project Freelancer saga, and this is where we're going to have some fun with Sister. Well, for Season 10. Season 9 I think should stay as is, at least the main season. There's 2 stories apparently take place during Season 9, even though exactly when they can take place is very complicated. It's always been my headcanon that these 2 stories do happen within the Epsilon unit. However, they are different versions of Epsilon recreating Blood Gulch in an effort to try and find Tex. Regardless on how you want to look at these stories and the canonicity of them all, my point is, for the main story, Sister and Junior would not appear in. However, with MIA, we could easily insert Sister in that, even if she's just given a minor role being with Griff and Donut. We could say that Griff and Donut just bumped into her when they went to the city. And there you go, you've got Sister in a minor, probably just 1 episode from MIA, just giving her another appearance. Awesome. And the same goes for Where There's a Will, There's a Wall. I think Sister could have easily have been inserted into this, and we could have gone with a really funny, silly, dumb, classic RVB joke here. Someone had to deliver the Falcon. Who delivers it? Sister. Wait a minute. You mean to say that Command sent Sister in the Falcon to deliver said Falcon to the Blues? How is Sister going to get back to base or return to wherever she came from? Oh, Command didn't really think about that. Oops. I guess Sister's here now. And there you go. You've got Sister in Where There's a Will, There's a Wall. But yeah, seriously, I can absolutely see that being something that happens in Red vs. Blue, especially early Red vs. Blue during the Blood Gulch Chronicles, which the Epsilon unit for Season 9 is what it's basing itself on. Having a dumb moment like that, where Sister was the one that delivered the Falcon in the Falcon itself, I think would fit perfectly in the world of Red vs. Blue. Now, on to Season 10. Before we talk about Sister, we need to discuss something with Junior. I wish he could stay in this season, but again, we need to take into account the Halo games that future stories of Red vs. Blue use, and again, because 343 hates fun, playable elites aren't allowed in Halo 4, or 5, or Infinite. Hashtag fire 343, am I right guys? Anyway, back to the more important topic at hand. We need to give an explanation to why Junior isn't here anymore, despite the fact that he was with the Blues at the end of the Recollection Trilogy. How can we explain Junior not being there at the start of Season 10? Well, the solution I came up with was focusing on Tucker and Junior's mission in Season 7. It never officially concluded, when you think about it. Everyone in the desert that Tucker and Junior was working with were killed by CT and his men. Then CT and his men were killed. Tucker and Junior were the only survivors from that mission. Especially the elite side of this human elite faction that Tucker and Junior were working with, they're not happy. They want to know what happened to their fellow elite brothers and sisters. They want to know why they all died and why Tucker and Junior never reported back in the first place. So to keep the peace, and because it's an elites only situation, Junior has to go on his own. Tucker can't go with him. Junior has to leave Tucker to meet up with the elites, let's say a council, or some other UNSC equivalent for an elite faction. Just basically explain what the hell happened in the desert, because no one really found out what happened there. I know that's not the best explanation, but that's all I could come up with, really. This is why I don't do fan fictions on a regular basis. Moving back over to Sister, how is she going to be in Season 10? Easy. She's in the same warthog as Griff when he shows up. What is Sister doing here? Carolina has been looking for Church, specifically Epsilon Church. While she knows he's not there, the Reds and Blues likely have information on where he could be. So eventually, Carolina, I have no doubt, would it not make sense for her to check out Blood Gulch just to see if she can find any information there on the location of, if not Epsilon himself, the Reds and Blues? So we're going to say that she went to the canyon, she went to Blood Gulch. Who does she find? Just Sister. She explains that she got choked out by Lopez.
That was hot.
And while she didn't have much, she was at least able to give Carolina some information about Griff and the other Reds and Blues, characters that would potentially know where Epsilon is, and even if they didn't, Carolina needs all the help she can get. So she forces Sister to come with her. She drags Sister along for the ride. Sister would reunite with Griff and the others, and then we would have her here in season 10 at the beginning. So throughout season 10, Sister's here. She's part of the group. Sister admittedly would mostly be just comic relief. She wouldn't have much to do in season 10. She would have some scenes with mainly Griff and Tucker for obvious reasons, I think. Maybe add some scenes with her and Washington, calling back to their interactions in season 6. Church has these big outbursts to the rest of the characters. Sister would obviously stay behind in Valhalla. After Doc convinces the Reds and Blues to go and help Church at Carolina, Sister would tag along. And just like seeing Junior animated in a fight scene in season 8, Sister would now have an animated fight scene in season 10. Standing alongside her brother and the other Reds and Blues, Sister being in that fight in season 10 would just have been awesome. I've always felt like Sister belonged with the Reds and Blues as just another main regular cast member. Anyway, the Chorus Trilogy. Junior, I'm sorry, man. Again, 343, man. They just don't like elites. They just don't like them. Let's focus on Sister again, because obviously #Fire343. What's great about the Chorus Trilogy though with Sister, I don't need to even worry about coming up with some unique reason for why she's there. She was with the Reds and Blues at the end of season 10, and she was on her way back to Blood Gulch with, again, the Reds and Blues. So when the ship crash landed on Chorus, she's there with them. Sister would have her own scene during season 11, carrying on the running gag on who exactly blew up the ship or crashed the ship. I think there can be some funny stuff with Felix. Maybe Sister gets a crush on Felix when they first meet him in season 11, making Tucker very jealous. We could give her some fun interactions with Freckles and Caboose, and again, I think another character we could have some interesting interactions with her would be with Washington. At the end of the season, she would be captured by Locust alongside Lopez, Donut, Sarge, and Washington, meaning that in season 12 we would see her during the Federal Army of Chorus episode, where they meet Doyle and Dr. Gray for the first time. I think Sister and Dr. Gray would get along very well. I think they have very similar energy, and I think their personalities would mesh well. They would have a lot of funny interactions with each other, I think. And with Sister and Griff separated, that could lead to some great scenes with Griff during season 12. Even without Sister, Griff clearly gets a little bit more focus than Simmons and Caboose does at the start of season 12. So this could just be another thing to give to Griff. So we would have some good brother-sister moments between the two characters, especially after they reunite. And it would pretty much mirror the scenes we would see with them during season 17. Sister would have some choice words for when she finds out that Felix, again a guy she had a crush on in the previous season, turns out to be a villain, a bad guy, working with Locust. She would obviously be helping out with the others towards the end of the season, helping fight the space pirates, and possibly give her a moment when Tucker and Felix are having a little standoff, or maybe we just see Sister running up to Tucker after he collapsed. With season 13, Sister would join in the victory dance with Tucker and Sarge.
What? Another one bites the dust. Oh, yeah. Another one gone. Another one gone. Another one bites the dust. Oh, yeah. Ooh, we kicked your ass, bitch.
Get down with your bad self.
She would be with the Blues when they meet Santa.
And that is why I have named him Santa.
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 Santa?
Yes, Santa.
Santa.
She would help Dr. Gray and Donut with Doc. Sister would have her own little moment when helping to take down Felix. So the big question with season 13, and I think you already know what the answer to this is, would Sister be in the final scene? Absolutely, 100% yes. If I haven't made it clear already, Sister deserves to be standing alongside her brother and the other Reds and Blues. She is a part of that group. Why we had to wait until season 16 and 17 to see her as a regular member of this team, I will never understand. Sister deserves to be with the Reds and Blues. She deserves to stand alongside her brother. She deserves to stand alongside these other sim troopers that have essentially accepted her and are just as dumb and as funny and as lovable as she is. And you know what? Despite what I said earlier, maybe there is a way we can have Junior here. It's a stretch, don't get me wrong, But what if we play with the idea that on their way to Blood Gulch before the ship crashed on Chorus, let's say Tucker sent a message or had a video call or some kind of communication with Junior to let him know they are heading back to Blood Gulch. And let's say Junior obviously went to Blood Gulch, his dad and the other Reds and Blues weren't there, he couldn't contact him, it would definitely be difficult. But what if we said that Junior was leading a group of elites looking for his father, and when Epsilon sends out that message like he does in season 13, what if Junior and a group of elites were able to make it to Chorus, and Banshees and Wraiths were sent in to help fight the various Mantis that were attacking the rebels, the Federal Army of Chorus, being led by Wash and Carolina. And then for the final episode, instead of the Reds and Blues using the damaged Falcon to fly up to Hargrove's ship, what if a Phantom appeared? And in that Phantom was Bloggity Blog himself. Again, I will admit, this is completely crazy fanfic territory here. I mean, this whole video is fanfic territory, right? But I feel like this point is the most fanficky moment I've done for this video so far. But I'm just trying to add both Junior and Sister to the final scene in season 13, man. And this is the best I can come up with. So yeah, Junior would be in a Phantom with some elites, drops off the Reds and Blues, he stays with his brothers, just aiding the elites, fighting, say, some ships or some soldiers that are coming at them as they're dropping off the Reds and Blues onto the ship itself. After taking down the soldiers, Junior goes running after his father. Then when the final episode enters full-on animation territory, that's when we could easily have Junior just reunite with Daddy. Tucker would go into the room himself still, while Junior stays back with the Reds and Blues fighting off the soldiers at first. Then the Reds and Blues would all come into the trophy room, Junior and Sister with them. And there you go. You've got Sister and Junior standing alongside the rest of the Reds and Blues in that season 13 final shot. This is pretty ridiculous, I won't lie to you. This whole segment about Junior appearing at the last minute, basically, for like the last 2 episodes of season 13, just having him appear at the very tail end of the story, I won't lie, it's a stretch. But then again, this whole video is a stretch. Like, this is fanfiction territory, I won't deny that. There's a lot of what ifs you can do with this series, but the biggest one for me was always this: what if Sister and Junior were in more seasons of RVB? What if they were a part of more stories that Red vs. Blue gave us over the years? And if any two characters deserved to be promoted, as it were, to series regulars, I can't think of any other character that would be more fitting than Sister and Junior. I think season 13 would be a perfect drop-off point for this video, but let's go over the other seasons as well and just briefly talk about some of the what-if ideas I have with these characters being in, or potentially being in some of these stories. I won't spend too much time with season 14, as I don't really think there's much I can do with the way the season is. However, if there is one episode from season 14 where I think Sister and Junior could have made an appearance, and it would have made for a very funny appearance at that, get bent. The gender bent episode. Meaning that instead of Sister, we would have Brother! Imagine that, a male Kai and a female Junior. Season 15, I will admit, is very complicated. We would have to come up with a different reason on how Dylan and Jax came across Vic in Blood Gulch. There's obviously ways you can do it. Jax is an idiot. We could say that Jax, for whatever reason, dug a hole in Blood Gulch, or just fell through one of the many graves that Blood Gulch has had over the years. Griff would stay behind on his own still, just so we won't ruin any of his character stuff from season 15, because I really like what they do with Griff in season 15. And I would say the other big question for Sister is, would she have a Blues and Reds counterpart? Looking at just season 15, the concept of the Blues and Reds I can get behind. When you try to connect 15 to previous seasons and make it all part of the same ongoing story, yeah, it caused issues, to put it simply. And I think a counterpart of Sister being with the Blues and Reds would just make it even worse. Let's not even talk about that idea. Sister would be an odd one out. She would not have a Blues and Reds counterpart. I think she would have some interactions with Bucky, maybe some flirty interactions to piss off Tucker, or we could go the complete opposite route where Bucky's trying to flirt with Sister and Sister's completely rejecting him. Speaking of Tucker, I think season 15 would be also the season where we would focus more on the relationship between Sister and Tucker, and we could maybe have this stuff lead into what we actually see happen in season 16 and 17. Obviously, when Griff reunites with the Reds and Blues and saves them, Sister would be angry at him at first. However, later on, obviously, they would make up. They would still have a nice brother-sister hug at the end of the season like what we saw. So I guess there's one more thing I need to talk about. Restoration, the final season of RVB. Let's start with Sister. We could still implement her into the start of Restoration just like how we saw her. Hell, that could be how it kicks off. That's the first time she's seen Tucker / the meta since whatever happened after the finale of season 13 and Tucker first became the meta. This is the first time she's seen him again. So she leaves, she runs off because she knows that if he sees her, he's going to go after her. But that makes sense? I think that would make sense with the story of what Restoration was with the meta. She contacts Griff, tells him what happened. Caboose has his stuff with Epsilon going on conveniently at the same time. And we could really show some genuine fear here as well from Sister. Like, she's terrified of what Tucker's become. She knows it's not his fault, but she's scared of him. She's scared of the meta, because this would be her first time seeing the meta. She never saw the meta in season 6, and even in my proposed what if story here, Sister wouldn't be that involved in the Recollection Trilogy. So this would be her first time actually meeting a version of the meta. So Sister would decide that her best course of action, or we could say that it's Griff's suggestion, she needs to lay low. She needs somewhere to hide. I think you know where I'm going with that. She's going to end up at a certain familiar canyon, which means she won't be in the rest of the story until the Reds and Blues make it to the canyon. Sister agrees to stay and fight alongside her brother and Simmons, and that will be pretty much it with Sister. Then Tex will join the fight, then Carolina will join the fight, and when Tucker's back to his normal self, we could have a genuine, nice interaction with Sister and Tucker, hinting towards the idea that, yeah, they're going to become an official couple now, or even if it's still not confirmed, it's heavily implied. And that's it, that would be the end of Sister. Now, Junior. Another complicated one. I'm not going to do another 343 joke, we're just going to talk about the facts. Halo Infinite doesn't have playable elites, so how can Junior be here? I have a dark idea. I have a very dark, maybe disturbing idea. A certain fragment of Epsilon will infect Junior, much like how Sigma has infected Tucker and formed the new meta. Going back to season 5, Omega had a plan that involved Junior. Omega's plan in season 5 was to infect Junior.
What's your plan, Wyoming? Why are you here, and what do you want with Junior? He already told me! My kid is the last part of that big prophecy we thought failed. He's supposed to become some big religious savior for their whole race. Or some crap.
What?
Yeah, so they want to make Junior fulfill the prophecy and have O'Malley infect him. Then they can use him to enslave all the aliens by corrupting their religion from the inside.
So, even though these are the Epsilon unit versions, we're going to call back to that. Omega, or more specifically, the Epsilon Omega. This fragment is going to infect our beloved Junior, forcing him to work alongside Tucker / the meta. I'm going to say that Junior's smart enough to understand that something's wrong with both him and Tucker, but he just can't figure it out. And because he still wants to protect his dad, he's helping his father. Essentially, it wouldn't just be the meta, it would be the meta and his son, Meta Junior. Not much else to say other than when we get to the end of Restoration with the big climactic fight, Junior would obviously be a part of that. When Tex joins the battle, Tex is able to knock Junior out. The rest of the events will play out exactly how it did. Junior would wake up, come to, have a funny bloggity-blog moment with his dad. We see that he's back to normal, and that would be it. Anyway, I think I'm done here. I'm sorry for how long this video has gone on for, and I hope that my commentary hasn't been that bad to listen to, as I basically write this fan fiction. Again, this was always something I thought about for years while watching Red vs. Blue. What if Junior and Sister appeared in more seasons? What I've said in this video is just one of the ways you could have implemented Sister and or Junior into other seasons of Red vs. Blue. Again, if any other character deserves to be part of the main roster, it's these two, right? There's no other contest. Sister and Junior, despite their limited screen time, left an impression on me, and I know that they still became fairly popular characters within the RVB community. I hope you found some enjoyment in watching this video. I've been wanting to make a video like this for a long time. It's been one of those ideas I've had, and it's always just, yeah, I could do that eventually. I might get around that eventually. I apologize for how long it took for me to finally upload another video onto this channel, but I'm a busy boy. I work on 4 different YouTube channels, this one included. I have my own Twitch account where I do my live streams. And of course, I've got work and other shenanigans going on outside of content creation, outside of YouTube and Twitch. Then it also admittedly comes down to lack of motivation and silly things like that. With all that said, for one last time, thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.